So, what happens next? We've just celebrated Easter. We've, proclaimed that Jesus has been resurrected. But what happens next? Well, I've been studying the book of Acts, which talks about the beginning of the church. And Jesus shows up to the disciples, and it says that he spent 40 days with them. And one of the things that it says the beginning of Acts that Jesus says to his disciples is he says that they're going to be witnesses, that they should be witnesses to his kingdom. Now, this word witnesses is actually the Greek word martyros, and it sounds a little bit like something familiar. It sounds like the word martyr. And it's actually because that Greek word is the same word that's translated for martyr and for witnesses. Now, I was with a friend recently, and he was telling me a little bit about his story, and I hadn't seen him for a while, and he's very sick, and so we were talking about this different time in his life and the things that he's experienced. And he reminded me of something over a small meal. And my world sometimes, and I'm sure you're like this too, I get busy and things get crazy, and I'm very focused in on my time and what's going on in my life and the things that I need to do, that I forget about being a witness to God's kingdom, the kingdom that's a little different from my own little kingdom. And my friend was telling me that all these people who had been praying for him, that he had felt these prayers, that they took a little bit of time out of their day to pray for him, and in that he really felt those prayers. It's how this kingdom starts really small, but we are witnesses to God's kingdom, which can grow and impact in really, really big ways. Now in Romans, Paul talks about how people in the church, people who are Christians, need to be living sacrifices. Now, what an interesting way to phrase it. How do you be a living sacrifice? Well, it's similar to what Jesus was talking about as being a witness to his kingdom. It's a way for all of us to move from our own little kingdoms that we have in our lives, where we focus on the things that we need and we want and what's going on in our lives, and we move our time into God's kingdom and be witnesses for God's kingdom. And in that way, even these small moments where we're giving up our time for somebody else can grow into a huge impact in our world. So may you be a witness. May you be a living sacrifice. Because what happens next? We get to be those witnesses for God's kingdom in this world. Amen.